Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Dr. Melody Smith and I'm a clinical psychologist. On this channel I make videos for aspiring clinical psychologists on their journey to becoming clinical psychologists. In today's video I'll be sharing tips for when preparing for your clinical psychology doctorate interviews. If you have made it this far and you have been offered an interview, I just want to take this opportunity right now to say well done. That's amazing. What you have done is you have clearly demonstrated that you meet the minimum criteria to train as a clinical psychologist, and by giving you an interview, what the clinical psychology courses are telling you is that they want to know more about you and that you have a shot at getting your place on training. Because there's so much that can come of the interview, naturally going into the interview it can be really nerve-wracking and there can be a lot of pressure on performing in the interview, and so it can just be a very, very difficult and stressful time for aspiring clinical psychologists. This video is for anybody who is preparing for the clinical psychology doctorate interviews and would like to know what I did when I was preparing for the clinical psychology doctorate interviews, and most importantly what I learned from doing the first interview, which went really, really badly, to a couple of years later my second interview where I got a place. So here we go. Own your knowledge and experience. As I said before, everybody's knowledge and experience is slightly different. The way that people might summarize their knowledge and their experience might slightly vary, but the most important thing is that you know what it is that you've done, what it is that you learned from what you did, and what skills that has provided you with, and how they're going to map onto you being a great trainee clinical psychologist. First thing is to go through your application form. Make sure you know what's in your application form, because when you walk into that interview, pretty sure that the people who are interviewing you would have had a look at your application. They would have had a think about what it is that you've done in your experience, and so if you go in there and you've forgotten something that you've done, that you've written down in your application, it's going to be a little bit embarrassing. So know what's in your application form and what you have already told them. Then think about, how you can broaden what it is that you've written in your application form in a relevant way and in a meaningful way, so that if you are asked to give any examples, you can give more than what's just in the application form. So first thing, know what's in your application form, know your experience, know what you learned from each experience and what skills they have provided you with. Go to the job description for a trainee clinical psychologist. I'll put a link to the job description in the description below. People can have a look. But what you really need to be able to do is to go through that job description, and for each essential criteria that it stipulates, you've got to be able to think about how you have built that essential skill. So for each and every essential criteria, it's important that you have at least one or two examples of how you've met that criteria. Another thing that will inevitably come up in interviews is the current themes that are being discussed in clinical psychology. Here are some of the current themes in psychology at the moment. Have a look around, have a read, discuss, get on Twitter. Have a think about some of these current themes in psychology and where you fit with them, where you stand with them and why, based on your values, based on your experiences. Like, why is it that you have those values? It's great if you can think of things from a theoretical perspective in addition to your own personal perspective. My final thing for you to think about in terms of your knowledge and your experience, think about you as a person, think about your intersectionality, think about yourself in terms of the social graces model. What is your culture? What is your age? And how does that shape you? How does that lead you to connect with people? How might that lead you to maybe struggle to connect with other people? What might be the challenges? So really have a think about who it is you are as a person, your values, your personality, your strengths, your areas for improvement or learning. I hope these tips for interview have been helpful. I welcome any comments below. I've been Dr. Melody Smith. See you next time.